This week marked a big milestone for my husband and me. Our 10th wedding anniversary. 10 years of marriage sounds like something to celebrate, right? I thought so too. I was really looking forward to making some memories and sharing a special moment with him. To give you a bit of background, my husband and I first met during our college years. We fell in love, got married, built a life together. We both work full-time jobs and are raising our daughter. Life has had its ups and downs, but I always thought that when it came to our relationship, we'd find time to appreciate each other, especially on big days like this. So when our 10th anniversary was approaching, I hoped at the very least that we could go out for dinner, just the two of us. Nothing too expensive or extravagant. Just some quality time, maybe a quiet meal and a chance to reconnect. But a few days before the anniversary, my husband told me something that left me feeling sad and honestly a little hurt. He said that because his business has been struggling lately, he couldn't afford to take me to a nice restaurant this year. I get that times are tough sometimes. And I understand that finances can be tight, but it wasn't just about the money. It was the fact that he didn't try to do anything else either. I wasn't asking for luxury, just something meaningful, something to show that he thought about it and cared. A walk in the park, a handwritten note, even a simple meal at home with a little effort would have meant so much to me. But I knew that arguing with him wouldn't change anything, so I stayed quiet, kept my feelings to myself, and just let it go. Even though we couldn't go out to celebrate, I still wanted to make our anniversary evening special in some way. I thought to myself, if he can't plan something, then maybe I can. So I decided to cook his favorite meal, something I knew would make him happy. I spent a good part of the evening in the kitchen, putting my heart into every detail. I even asked my parents if our daughter could stay with them for the night, so me and my husband could have some time alone, just the two of us. I had this little hope that once he saw the effort I made, it would lift his mood. And we could still have a moment that felt special, even if it wasn't exactly what I originally hoped for. But when he came home, it was already past 9 p.m. He usually gets home by 7, so I was starting to worry. When he finally walked in the door, he didn't even notice the dinner I had made. He didn't comment on the setup or even seem to care much about it. I tried to stay calm, even though I felt crushed. I asked him where he had been, but he just brushed me off and didn't say much. We ended up eating dinner in almost complete silence. After we finished eating, I quietly got up and went to get the present I had been hiding for weeks. It was something I'd been looking forward to giving him for a long time. You see, for the past 2 years, I'd been secretly setting aside a little money from my personal spending allowance, what we jokingly call my fun money. My husband has always dreamed of owning a Rolex watch. It's something he's talked about for years, but he never bought one because it felt too out of reach, too expensive, too indulgent. But I knew how much he wanted it, so slowly, little by little, I saved enough to finally buy it for him as a surprise for our 10th wedding anniversary. When I handed him the box, he looked confused at first, and then when he opened it and saw the watch, his entire expression changed. His eyes widened, and for a moment he was completely speechless. He kept glancing back and forth between the watch and me, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was clearly stunned. I gently told him how I knew how much this watch meant to him and wanted to give him something that showed how much I appreciate everything we've been through together. This anniversary was important to me, and I wanted him to know that, no matter what. As I spoke, I noticed his expression starting to change. His eyes became glossy. He looked like he was holding back tears. That's when he took a deep breath and said he had something he needed to confess. His voice was low. He seemed nervous, like the words were heavy on his tongue. Seeing him like that made my heart start to race. My mind immediately jumped to the worst possibilities, but I tried to stay calm. I asked softly, "What's going on?" He looked down for a moment and then back at me. His voice shook a little as he said, "I didn't expect you to give me something so meaningful. And while you've been such a good wife, kind, thoughtful, always giving, I haven't been a good husband lately." Hearing those words made my chest tighten. There was something in the way he said it, full of guilt, almost shame, that made it hard to breathe for a moment. I didn't know what was coming next, but I could feel that it was something serious. My husband told me the reason he had come home so late that evening wasn't because of work, like I had assumed. He admitted that he hadn't been to the office at all. Instead, he had been out gambling. My heart sank. I stared at him, trying to process what he had just said. My mind went blank for a second, like it couldn't catch up with the words I was hearing. Then, as if that wasn't already enough of a shock, he continued. With his voice barely above a whisper, he said, "I lost the house deed." For a moment, it felt like the room stopped moving. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I just sat there staring at him, my hands frozen in place. What did he mean he lost the house deed? Our home? The one we had built our life in? The one where we raised our daughter? Gone? To fully understand how devastating his confession was, you have to know a bit of our history. Back before we had our daughter, my husband struggled with a serious gambling problem. He wasn't just a casual player, it was constant. He would spend nearly every spare dollar we had chasing wins that never came. There were months when we could barely pay our bills. We lived in a cloud of financial stress and constant tension. I remember the sinking feeling every time he walked through the door late. The excuses, the lies, the empty promises. It was like living with a stranger. It went on for years. I kept hoping, kept waiting for things to change, but they only got worse. Then I got pregnant. That moment changed everything for me. I wasn't just thinking about us anymore. I was thinking about the child I was bringing into the world. I sat him down and told him as clearly and as firmly as I could, "If you don't stop this, I will leave. I will raise this baby on my own. I will not let our child grow up with a gambler as a father." Something about that conversation must have struck a chord, because after that, he turned things around, or so I believed. He got help. He stayed away from the casinos, the online betting apps, all of it. For years, things were calm. He became more responsible, more present. He got a good job, started saving. I let myself believe that the worst was behind us. I trusted him again. So, when he sat across from me now, after 10 years of marriage, and told me he had been gambling again, and worse, had lost the deed to our house, it felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. Not only had he broken a promise, he had gambled away our family's sense of security, our home, the one safe place we had. I stood up and started yelling. I couldn't help it. "What do you mean you lost the house deed? Who did you lose it to? What are we supposed to do now? Just pack our bags and move out?" My voice was trembling, but I didn't care. I needed answers. He sat there quiet at first, like he didn't know how to respond. Then he finally spoke, his tone low and ashamed. "We don't have to move. They said we could still stay in the house, but we'll have to pay rent now." Rent. That word echoed in my head over and over like a cruel joke. Rent for our own home, the home we had built together, the home where we brought our daughter after she was born, the home where I cooked, cleaned, cried, laughed, and dreamed, and now somehow we were going to be tenants in it? I felt completely betrayed. I couldn't wrap my head around it. He had gambled away our future, our safety, our stability, all of it. Gone in one reckless moment. And the worst part, this wasn't just his house. This was my house too. Years ago, when my parents passed away, they left me a sizable inheritance. It wasn't just money, it was their life's work, their savings, their love passed down to me. I used a large portion of that, along with some of my husband's savings, to buy this house. But my husband's name was the only one on the deed. At the time, he said it was just easier that way. And I, not thinking much of it, agreed. I trusted him. I believed in us. I never imagined that decision would come back to haunt me. Had my name been on that deed, this wouldn't have happened. He couldn't have used our house as a bet. He couldn't have lost it like some cheap poker chip. I felt like a fool, a heartbroken, furious fool. I was so furious, so deeply hurt, that I couldn't even look at him anymore. I told him right then and there, "I don't want to see your face." The words came out sharp and cold, but I meant every single one. I couldn't believe what he had done. How could he betray us like this? How could he gamble away our home, our future, and then expect me to just sit quietly and accept it? Now we have to pay rent to live in the very house we bought together, a house built on the memories of my parents, on the sacrifices I made, on the love I once had for him. And now that love feels like it died the moment he confessed. I can't stop thinking about all the bills we already have. School expenses, groceries, the rising cost of everything, and now rent too? All because of one selfish decision. How are we supposed to afford this now? How do I explain this to our daughter when things fall apart? How could he do this to us, to me? It's been 2 days since that night. 2 days of silence. I haven't said a single word to him, and honestly, I don't want to. He's tried to talk to me a few times, mumbled some weak, half-hearted apologies like, "I didn't mean for this to happen," or "I was just trying to win something big for us." But I can't listen. I can't even stand the sound of his voice right now. Because the truth is, I don't respect this man anymore. I don't trust him. I don't see him the same way. And worst of all, I don't think I love him anymore. At least, not the way I used to. That version of him, the one I fell in love with, feels long gone. What's left is someone I barely recognize, someone who lied, who gambled behind my back, and who has now put our entire life in jeopardy. I hate that he's put us in this position. I hate that once again, I'm the one trying to hold everything together while he crumbles everything we built. And right now, I don't know where we go from here. AITA, if I decide to leave my husband because of this? Update 1. Hi everyone. I just wanted to start by saying thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the concern, support, and kind messages over the last few days. I didn't expect to receive so much empathy and encouragement. And it's honestly helped me feel a little less alone in all of this. I know a few people had questions or things they were curious about, so I'll try to answer some of the main ones here. 1. Are you and your daughter safe? Yes, thankfully, we are physically safe. She's still staying with my parents for now, which has helped give me a little space to think and breathe. She doesn't know what's going on, just that Mommy needed some quiet time. I plan to keep it that way until I have more clarity on what comes next. 2. Is the house really gone? Unfortunately, yes. My husband admitted to gambling away the house deed. From what he told me, it's now in someone else's name, and we've been told we can stay, but only if we pay rent going forward. The house was legally his, as the deed was in his name alone. That's on me. Years ago, I trusted him enough to let him handle that part of the paperwork, and I never thought something like this could happen. 3. Why didn't you leave your husband back then when he was gambling before? Back then, we didn't have our daughter yet. I held on to hope that he would change. When I became pregnant, I gave him a clear ultimatum: stop gambling or I would walk away. And for a while, it looked like he had changed. He cleaned up his act, and I believed he had left that part of his life behind. I truly believed we had moved forward. 4. Have you talked to your husband since? No. It's been a few days since he told me. I haven't said a word to him. He's tried to talk, but I honestly don't have it in me right now. I'm not ready to hear more excuses or feel manipulated by apologies that feel too little too late. The trust is gone, and I don't know if it can come back now. Update 2. Guys, you were right. I found out the full truth, and I still can't wrap my head around it. My husband lied again. It wasn't just a mistake or a one-time slip-up. It was a twisted mess of lies, layered on top of more lies. I feel sick just thinking about it. After everything that had already happened, I thought the worst was behind me. But no, it turns out my husband didn't lose the house deed to some stranger or shady loan shark. He lost it to his own mother. Yes, you read that right. The person we now have to pay rent to is his mom. My mother-in-law has always been just as deep into gambling as he is. I guess it runs in their blood or something. On the night of our 10th wedding anniversary, when my husband told me he couldn't afford a dinner out, when I stayed home and cooked him his favorite meal, and when I surprised him with a gift I had saved up for 2 whole years, he had left work early to go gambling at his favorite casino with his mother. And he lost to her. The reason he had tried to lie and omit about who he had lost the house deed to is that he knows I hate his mother as much as she hates me. You see, my mother-in-law and I have never had a good relationship. From the very beginning, she made it clear she didn't like me. She's always believed her son deserved someone better. I still remember how cold and dismissive she was when we first got engaged. No excitement, no congratulations, just snide remarks and judgmental looks. And that attitude never changed, even after I became her daughter-in-law. She's gone out of her way over the years to make my life difficult. Little comments, passive-aggressive jabs, subtle, sometimes not so subtle, attempts to come between us. She'd show up uninvited, insert herself into our personal matters, and constantly act like I was somehow beneath her. And every time I stood my ground, she called me disrespectful, as if she could behave whatever way she wanted without any consequences. Then, when we had a child, I thought she might finally back off. Maybe after we had a child, she softened a bit, but no, she stayed the same. One of the most outrageous things she ever did, and believe me, there's a long list, was when she tried to convince my husband to get a DNA test done. Yes, you read that right. She had the nerve to say our daughter didn't look enough like him. She made it clear that a woman like me could have easily slept with someone behind her son's back, and that there was no proof that this child was really his. My husband immediately called her out for this and told her to back off, but she kept pushing, even telling him, "It's just for peace of mind," as if I had ever given anybody a reason to doubt me, as if I hadn't just carried our child for 9 months, gone through labor, and poured my soul into building our family. It was a disgusting accusation, and the fact that she even entertained the idea told me just how little she thought of me. Thankfully, my husband stood by me, and that is what pissed her off even more. As if that wasn't enough, she then took things even further. Not long after that, she uploaded a photo of our newborn on social media without asking us. She just posted it like our baby was hers to show off. And this wasn't just a photo. It was our daughter's first photo online, something we had intentionally avoided, wanting to wait until the time felt right. When we found out, my husband immediately called his mother to take the picture down, but she argued, and I quote, "I have every right, she's my granddaughter." My husband told her that it didn't matter because we just didn't want our baby's picture on a social media platform. She refused to take it down regardless until my husband had to physically go to her place and delete the post from her phone. After this, I decided to cut off my mother-in-law permanently. I made it clear to my husband that if he wanted to keep a relationship with his mother, that was his choice. But I was done. I couldn't continue trying to keep peace with someone who had made it her mission to disrupt mine. He tried to push back at first, saying things like, "She's still my mom," or "We can figure it out." But eventually, even he had to admit that enough was enough. He saw how toxic things had gotten and agreed to keep her at a distance for the sake of our marriage and especially for our daughter. That's why, for a while now, I haven't had any contact with my mother-in-law, and neither has our daughter. I made that decision very intentionally. I didn't want our child around someone who didn't respect me, her mother, or the life we were trying to build. I didn't want that kind of influence near her. Of course, my husband still sees her now and then. I assumed it was the occasional check-in or family obligation, nothing more. What I didn't know was that their relationship had taken a very different turn. I had no idea that mother and son were now gambling together, that they were sitting across from each other in the same casino, feeding each other's addiction like it was normal. And the worst part, I had no idea that she, his own mother, was the one who had taken away the roof over our heads. What kind of person does that? What kind of family are they? How could she, his own mother, accept a house as a win when she knew full well it would leave her own son's family in ruins? She clearly didn't care about our family or our stability. If she did, she never would have accepted that house deed from her own son, knowing it would leave us scrambling. That act alone proved just how little we meant to her. As if everything he had already told me wasn't bad enough. My husband kept talking, trying to explain, trying to justify what he'd done. And with every word, the pit in my stomach just grew deeper. He said that when he gambled away our house, his mother had bet her car. That was the deal. He really thought he could win. He sat across from her, fully believing he'd walk away with her vehicle and come home with some version of victory. Instead, he lost, and with that loss, handed over our home. But what broke me even more was what he said next. Apparently, it was his mother's idea to bet the house in the first place. She had been in his ear for a while, planting seeds of doubt, feeding him fears about me. She had been warning him about the dangers of divorce, about how I might take half of everything if things ever fell apart. According to him, she kept going on about how he needed to protect his assets, how he had to be smart in case I decided to leave and claim the house or ask for alimony. All these little whispers, All this poison, dripping slowly over time until he started to believe her. That's how he ended up thinking it was a smart move to gamble away our home to his mother, just so that it would stay in the family, as if that somehow made it better. As if giving it to her, a woman who despises me, was a better option than sharing it with his wife and the mother of his child. He actually said it. This way, it still belongs to my family, even if you leave. Hearing that shattered something in me. All this time, I thought we were building a life together, one based on love, trust, and partnership. But behind my back, he was letting his mother convince him to treat me like a threat, like some outsider trying to take what was theirs. And instead of defending me, his wife, he handed her the very foundation of our life together. So now here we are. She, my mother-in-law, is the legal owner of our house. The same house I helped pay for, the same house I made a home for our family, the same house I thought we'd raise our daughter in for years to come. And if we want to continue living here, we have to pay rent to her. Can you believe that? I looked my husband straight in the eye and told him exactly what I felt. I find you despicable. Not just for gambling or for lying, but for what he believed about me. He had made a quiet, cowardly decision somewhere along the way that we were going to get divorced, that I was the enemy, that I'd someday try to take everything from him. He never brought these concerns to me like an adult, just listened to his mother, bought into her paranoia, and let her drive a wedge straight through our marriage. And the sickest part is, I never once gave him a reason to think I would leave. Not when we were broke. Not when he struggled with gambling the first time. I stood by him. I carried us through. I even made peace with the fact that we weren't celebrating our anniversary properly. Because I still loved him, and I thought we were in this together. But now, after everything, I felt done. I looked at him and couldn't believe that I had been married to a stranger all these years. A selfish, dishonest man with no sense of loyalty, no responsibility, and clearly no shame. There's no coming back from this, not for me, not for our marriage. I told him I was leaving him, and this is when my husband started yelling at me. He raised his voice like I was the one who had betrayed him. He shouted that his mother had been right all along, that this, me deciding to walk away, was the very reason he had given away the house in the first place. According to him, I was just proving her point. I stood there stunned, listening to him twist everything around. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. In his mind, I was the villain, not the fact that he gambled behind my back, not that he handed over our house to his mother like it was nothing, not that he had let her poison our marriage with her suspicions and manipulations for years. No, in his mind, me leaving now after he wrecked everything was somehow proof that I was never going to stay. He couldn't see that it was his actions that pushed me here, that I stood by him for years, even through the ugliest parts of his past. I forgave. I believed in him. I gave everything I had to this marriage, including my trust, my money, my time, my heart. And now, because I finally said enough, he wants to act like he's the victim. I didn't even bother arguing with him. There was nothing left to say. His shouting didn't scare me. Instead, it just confirmed everything I already knew. I let him yell, let him throw his tantrum, and I quietly turned around and went upstairs. I am done explaining myself, done trying to reason with someone who twisted love into suspicion and partnership into betrayal. Because for the first time in a long time, my mind feels clear. I know exactly what I need to do. I am not second guessing or waiting for another apology that will never be real. I am not going to cling to the past or hope for change. I have made a choice for myself, for my daughter, for our future. I feel heartbroken, yes, but I also feel free. I don't regret a single word I said to him. He needed to hear it. He needed to see that his actions have consequences, that love isn't unconditional when you treat someone like they're disposable. Leaving him is the right thing to do, not out of spite, not to hurt him, but because I deserve better. My daughter deserves better, and I refuse to stay in a marriage built on lies, manipulation, and gambling debts disguised as family loyalty. I'm walking away with my head held high. Update 3. Guys, thank you all for your support and advice. It truly means more than I can express. I've finally done what needed to be done. I've moved out, not just from my ex-husband's place, but from what is now technically my ex-mother-in-law's house. The same woman who helped destroy my marriage and took what should have been our family's safe space. I still can't believe it came to this, but I'm no longer shocked, just done. Right now, I'm living with my sister and our daughter is with me. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, but I feel safer, more grounded. I feel like I can breathe again without walking on eggshells or bracing for another betrayal. And I'm not staying quiet anymore. I've hired a lawyer and we're taking action. I'm suing my ex, not just for the emotional and financial damage he's caused, but specifically for giving away our house behind my back. A house I paid for, in part, with my inheritance. A house that never should have been gambled away like a playing card. His mother may be holding the deed now, but that doesn't mean she's keeping it without a fight. We're also filing for alimony and child support because he doesn't just get to walk away from this while I rebuild everything from scratch. He made this mess, and now he's going to face the consequences. This isn't the ending I ever imagined for my marriage, but maybe it's the beginning of something better, hopefully. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.